welcome to the Plant-Based Revolution podcast with your host, myself, Neil Damrell from My Lifestyle Coach. Thank you very much for joining me this week on today's podcast. And today's just going to be a little short podcast discussing about weight loss and maybe the health benefits of enhancing and embracing more of a plant-based diet in terms of helping you with your weight loss. So I've talked previously in the past about weight loss in terms of calories, and calories are always king. If you refer back to a previous podcast that I've done a few episodes ago, just highlighting that you do have to count your calories. Calories are always king. Episode number 12. So if you haven't listened to that one, I definitely advise you to go back, listen to that episode first before listening to this one, just because in terms of anything that you do in terms of weight loss, you do have to focus on the calories, because regardless of whether you're following a plant-based diet or consuming maybe high amounts of meat, processed foods, you do have to be in a calorie balance. If you're consuming more than your body requires, regardless whether you're eating healthy or not, you're still going to increase your weight and likely to put on weight. So you can still put on weight eating healthily, so it's important to make sure that you monitor your calories on a daily basis. And after doing so for a number of weeks, you'll generally find that you probably eat quite similar most days, and you'll find that you'll sort of get your calorie balance in check and find that you'll sort of be in a nice happy medium. And if you want to lose weight, making sure you're in a negative calorie balance in order to lose weight. So yeah, if you haven't checked that one out, head over to the podcast episode number 12, check out Calories Are King. So today's episode, just talking about how a plant-based diet can help you assist you with losing weight. I came across this article while reading One Green Planet. Anybody not used that access before, then definitely check over One Green Planet. The lady that wrote this article was Heather McCleels. I don't know if I pronounced her surname wrong. But she is a nutritionist from America, dietetic specialist in plant-based nutrition, and writes for the One Green Planet, has her own blog as well. Someone that I would like to definitely get on the podcast in future, so after coming across this article, I'm maybe going to get in touch and see if we can get on the podcast just to talk about this in more detail and just getting a few points on the plant-based diet. To help you guys out and learn more about embracing a plant-based diet and how that can help you achieve better health, achieve weight loss that you want to achieve, and generally help the planet by consuming less meat in general. So today I'm just going to touch on the article that she spoke about and she wrote recently. Interesting article, some few topics that I've mentioned before, but just want to kind of reiterate again in terms of how a plant-based diet can not only help you lose weight, but the other benefits that you're going to get along with that. And also, generally consuming more of a plant-based diet, you can consume less calories in general if you're filling your plate up with vegetables. As I mentioned before, try and have half your plate vegetables or good salad every day with your main meals. So try and cutting down on those carb portions and meat portions, and you'll definitely feel a lot better than going for the carbs in terms of your vegetables, fruits, etc. So I'll get into the article. She's talked about the health benefits herself, and she hasn't suffered any protein deficiency or calcium deficiency either. Probably one of the big misconceptions about a vegan diet or plant-based diet is that you're going to lack in protein, but I've never really heard any stories about anyone being protein deficient. Generally we do consume enough protein in our diets to be healthy, so never ever worry about that. And certainly calcium as well, get a lot of sources from nuts and seeds, but also, for me, a plant-based diet, I still have a bit of dairy in terms of yogurt, so still getting a good bit of calcium from the yogurt as well, but not really, just cutting down on the cheese, which is generally high in saturated fat. So But the main points that she's really touched on today, I'm just going to go through, and just 5 simple points in terms of how a plant-based diet can help not just with your weight loss but achieve so many other things. So first point she touched on was lowering blood pressure. So she's highlighted that most people living on a plant-based diet will automatically see a lower drop in their blood pressure due to the high intake of potassium. So I have actually mentioned this previously on another podcast, where potassium does help to lower blood pressure, and that can lead to stress and anxiety. You do get a lot of potassium from whole grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables. Contain high amounts of potassium and vitamin B6. So, other foods, bananas are really good in potassium. I think I've highlighted on another podcast, actually, the top foods to lower blood pressure. Yeah, episode number 5. Check that out, episode number 5. In terms of top tips to lower your blood pressure and what foods to consume to lower your blood pressure as well. So, blood pressure is a silent killer. It's one of those things that you do have to really monitor and get checked out. I deal with that day in, day out in terms of assessing people's health, and people come in and on the face of it look like they wouldn't really have any high blood pressure, and their blood pressure is quite high enough to refer it to the GP, a doctor, just to get that looked at. So it's something that consuming more plant-based meals, you would find you will help to lower your blood pressure. And in general, if you're consuming more vegetarian options, as I try and encourage, is that you're consuming less processed products, less meat, less dairy, that generally high in saturated fat, high in salt, which lead to or can lead to high blood pressure over time. So it's always a win-win. Another point is that it's going to help lower your cholesterol. Again, I see day in, day out people with high cholesterol, and they wonder how we can reduce this. It is as simple as just reducing your saturated fat intake. Fats are really good for you, but you want to make sure that you're consuming the right fat. So I still have fish, a little bit of meat, but fish is really good because you're having a lot of omega-3s and 6s, or your healthy monosaturated and polysaturated fats. And compared to your cheese and your red meat, very, very high in saturated fat, those should be consumed in a minimum amount, really, just because of those consequences high in saturated fat. Coconut oil is very, very popular at the moment, but that's still very high in saturated fat. It's something, after going to a health conference recently, that you should really cut down on. The marketing companies market it very well, but I don't think you should be consuming it by the spoonful, because even though research has shown it does help to improve your HDL levels, which is your good cholesterol that you want to helps protect you against heart disease. In fact, actually it raises LDL levels at the same time, which is your low density lipoprotein, which is your bad cholesterol. So on the face of it, you might be getting more cholesterol, more good cholesterol, but I think overall, over time, your overall cholesterol level will increase, and you still want to keep your overall cholesterol level down. And we recommend below 5 is what's recommended here in the UK, 5 millimoles per litre, I think it was. So definitely think about cutting down on your saturated fat, and in doing so, if you're consuming more of a plant-based diet, you will be consuming less saturated fat in general, so that will definitely help to lower your cholesterol. So if you do have a problem with your cholesterol, it's definitely something to focus on. Unfortunately, in my opinion, statins and medication help mask the system a little bit, but mask the issue. But generally, look at the root cause of the problem. If you're consuming a diet rich in fat, takeaways, processed foods, packaged foods, then generally you're going to have higher cholesterol, or your risk of higher cholesterol is definitely going to be higher than someone who's having all your fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds. That can actually lower blood pressure, lower cholesterol, and reduce your chances of heart disease. So again, another win-win. Another factor is better blood sugar. So diabetes, I know here in the UK, is a constant issue. It's always on the increase, and the NHS is spending millions and millions of money each day trying to look after people with type 2 diabetes, which is generally the diabetes that's caused by lifestyle factors. Biggest factor is that after going to a nutrition conference recently, they highlighted that we're lacking in fibre, and we should be consuming at least 30 grams of fibre a day. And if you're consuming more fibre, generally, it's going to help slow down absorption of the sugars in the bloodstream, and that can result in improving how hungry you are all day. So have a slow release of energy throughout the day. So you're balancing your blood sugar levels, which can cause more of a healthy balance of cortisol levels that cause stress as well. So generally, it's going to be your carbohydrates. Some people say, I mean, she's highlighted here, and I want to just kind of question her on this really. Some animal foods have been found to raise blood pressure, blood sugar levels, which I'll have to look into much more detail and have a bit more read. But it's generally the cutting down on the carbohydrates, I think, and going for your getting your fibre and your carbs from your vegetables, rather than your simple sugars, such as your sort of white rice, white pasta, breads, etc. like that. Not saying that's bad, but definitely cutting down on that's going to help stabilise your sugar levels. Go for your oats, and definitely your brown rice, brown pasta, and maybe just have a smaller portion in regards to how much you're going to consume it on your plate. It will just help have a more sustained release of energy for the day, and also you're going to find that you'll feel fuller for longer because you've got more fibre on your plate. I know I have a massive salad every day, and that fills me up for the rest of the day. But the main thing is I don't feel bloated or tired after it. I feel quite energised and ready for the day. So no sort of afternoon slump that you may get if you have, a big pasta dish at lunchtime, which I'm sure a few of you have had before, and I know I've had before in the past. Number 4, in terms of highlighted, in terms of it does lower the risk of cancer. And that is true animal foods, especially your processed animal foods, such as your salami, sausages, anything that's been cured really in salt, will actually increase, has been shown to increase your chances of sort of colon cancer. So it's something that you definitely want to cut down on. Try and avoid that altogether. For me, I would say just go for your meats that, your steak and chicken as they are meant to be, rather than sort of your fermented, meats like sausages, salami, bacon, very, very high in salt. So it's not going to be good for your cholesterol, blood pressure, and obviously increasing your risk of cancer potentially, depending on how much you consume. I think the recommended daily allowances are about less than 50 grams a day, so only about the size of a deck of, palm of your hand, very small amount portion. If you stick to those levels or lower, then you're going to sort of hopefully be in the healthier levels. In other words, if you're consuming way more than that, then you definitely need to think about cutting down if you can. And the final point we've mentioned is the weight loss. I mentioned before that generally you will be consuming less calories if you're consuming more sort of salads, beans and pulses, vegetables, those kind of things. But it does mean you still have to consume or count your calories, just to make sure if you're snacking on nuts, you're not snacking on a whole packet of nuts, making sure those are within your calorie allowance, because they're very, very high in calories, even though they're good fats that your body will love, because obviously it's going to help improve your cholesterol levels. But also because you're filling up on fibre, you're going to feel fuller for longer, so you're probably less inclined to snack mid-afternoon, mid-morning, because you've eaten a good hearty breakfast, good lunch, a good dinner, for example. So those desires to have those extra added calories that you may stack up throughout the day, that can lead to definitely weight gain over a period of time, will definitely certainly help you lose weight if you're getting your main meals really nutritious, really strong, really healthy, and those extra stacking options will definitely minimise over time. Like I said, you're consuming more fibre, more vitamins, more minerals, and protein you're going to get. Still have a bit of meat and dairy every now and then, but it's a bit more in a balance. But for me, the plant-based revolution is about embracing more plant-based meals, not giving up meat and dairy completely, but definitely flipping it on your head. So not having your plate based around what's going to go with my meat or my dairy, for example, but what will go with my vegetables. So vegetables at every meal, and then just supplement that with a bit of meat, or definitely go for the vegetarian or the vegan protein in terms of beans and pulses. If you're having a bean curry, bean chili, have some falafels with your salad instead of some chicken, those kind of things. So good healthy balance. But in terms of weight loss, calories are king, and like I said, check out episode number 12 where I talk about that, and just in terms of monitoring calories and tips on how to do that as well. So that is a very short podcast for me today, guys. I just want to reiterate a few points that I've mentioned before on some previous podcasts, because ultimately habits that you form day in, day out is what's going to get the results that you want to achieve in terms of where you want to lose weight, gain weight, in terms of gaining more muscle or changing your life around, and unless you apply these principles, you're not going to see any results. And you've got to apply these principles day in, day out, generally for the rest of your life if you want to have a healthy balance, healthy lifestyle. You can't just do it for a number of weeks and then expect massive results. So hopefully that's been helpful for you guys. Thank you very much again for listening. I really appreciate you taking the time out today. I'm excited that we've got a few more guests coming up in the pipeline, so I'm interviewing a few soon, so I'm excited to share those with you, and also excited to share the Plant-Based Revolution community over on Facebook. So if you'd like to join, then please head over to Facebook, type in Plant-Based Revolution community, join there, and we'll get you involved, hopefully passing on some information, provide you some support, interact with everybody in the group, about just embracing more of a plant-based diet and how that's going to hopefully change your lifestyle for the better, improve your weight, improve your life in general, and pass on the benefits I've had over the last 15 years to you guys, and an opportunity to interact with me, have a chat with me, and hopefully help you guys on your plant-based journey. So again, thank you very much for listening. Final point, if you haven't already, I'd really love if that you went over to iTunes and just lend us a review over on iTunes. It'd be really great to get some feedback, and if you've got any topics you'd like to be discussed on the show, feel free to pass them over, send them over on the social media links to me, and we'll be able to help you out in the future, and hopefully get that as a topic on the show. Or if you've got any guests that you feel like you'd like me to interview, I can approach, then hit me up and we can see if we can get that organised as well. But yeah, lend us a review. Love to get your feedback. Really appreciate everybody listening, and we'll see you next time.